A rising MMA champion thought he could humiliate his girlfriend in front of his gym crew. He shoved her against the lockers, laughing as she stumbled. He mocked her tears while his friends filmed. What he didn't know was that the quiet janitor mopping the floor was a retired Navy SEAL who'd spent 6 years teaching hand-to-hand combat at Coronado. Marcus Webb didn't believe in letting bullies walk away. He set down his mop, and in less than 30 seconds, the champion learned what real fighting looked like. If you're listening right now, help me prove something wrong. They said no one cares about stories of discipline, courage, and service. If you do care, subscribe and stand with this channel. I enjoy stories more when I imagine them myself, so that's how I tell mine. This story isn't just meant to be watched. It's meant to be imagined. The fluorescent lights of Iron Temple Gym buzzed with that electric frequency that comes just before closing time. It was 10:47 p.m. on a Friday in downtown Phoenix, and the desert heat that had baked the city all day was finally giving way to a tolerable warmth. Inside the 24-hour facility, only a handful of die-hard athletes remained, scattered between the free weights and the octagon cage that dominated the center of the space. Marcus Webb pushed his industrial mop across the rubber matting near the locker room entrance. At 52 years old, Marcus moved with an economy of motion that spoke of decades of physical discipline. He was average height, with salt and pepper hair cropped military short, and hands that were calloused and scarred in ways that told stories he never shared. 23 years as a Navy SEAL, including 6 years as a hand-to-hand combat instructor at Coronado, had left their mark on him in ways that civilian life couldn't erase. He wore the gray uniform of Premier Cleaning Services now, and to the gym's clientele, he was invisible, just another piece of the facility's infrastructure. But Marcus saw everything. A SEAL never stopped scanning for threats. Near the heavy bags, a group of 5 young men clustered around their leader like planets orbiting a sun. The leader was Devin Trask, 26 years old, with the kind of sculpted physique that came from genetics, steroids, and an obsessive gym routine. Devin was a rising star in the regional MMA circuit. 3 wins, 0 losses, all by knockout. His social media following had exploded to 500,000, and corporate sponsors were already circling. He had the swagger of someone who'd never truly been tested, who confused winning fights with being untouchable. Devin's crew, his team, as he called them, were recording everything. One held a ring light, another a smartphone and a stabilizer gimbal. They were always filming, always creating content for Devin's Instagram and TikTok. Every workout was a performance, every moment an opportunity for clicks. Marcus noticed her immediately. Sitting on a bench near the women's locker room was Sophie Chun, 23 years old, small-framed with long black hair pulled into a ponytail. She wore workout clothes, but they were wrong somehow. Too new, too clean, like a costume rather than genuine gear. Her eyes were locked on her phone, but she wasn't scrolling. She was frozen, thumb hovering over the screen, stealing glances toward Devin every few seconds with an expression Marcus recognized instantly. Fear. He'd seen that look on the faces of hostages in Fallujah, on translators who knew the Taliban was coming, on women in villages where warlords made the rules. It was the look of someone calculating survival. Devin finished a set on the heavy bag, his strikes powerful but sloppy, built on raw strength rather than technique. Marcus had seen enough real fighters to know the difference. Devin threw punches like someone who'd never faced an opponent who could truly hurt him back. Devin turned and spotted Sophie. His expression shifted, the public persona melting away to reveal something colder underneath. "Yo, Sophie." Devin's voice carried across the gym, that performative loudness that demanded attention. "Why are you sitting over there looking stupid? I told you to bring me my water bottle 10 minutes ago. Are you deaf?" Sophie flinched. She immediately stood up, fumbling with her phone as she shoved it into her pocket. "I'm sorry, Devin. I thought you had it in your bag." "You thought?" Devin cut her off with a mocking laugh, turning to his crew, who dutifully chuckled on cue. "Babe, that's your problem. You don't think. That's why I have to think for both of us, right?" Marcus continued mopping, but his trajectory shifted subtly, bringing him closer to the unfolding scene. His body language remained casual, but every sense was now locked onto Devin and Sophie. Sophie hurried over to Devin's gym bag near the bench press station. She unzipped it and began searching through the contents. Protein shakers, hand wraps, a bottle of pre-workout. Her hands were trembling. Marcus noticed the way she kept her shoulders hunched, making herself smaller, trying to disappear. "It's not in here, Devin," Sophie said quietly, her voice barely audible over the gym's sound system playing aggressive hip-hop. Devin's jaw tightened. He strode over to her in 3 long steps, and the energy in the gym changed. The few other athletes still training looked up, sensing the shift. Devin's crew followed him, cameras still rolling, capturing everything. "What do you mean it's not in there?" Devin grabbed the bag from her hands and dumped its contents onto the floor. Bottles, wraps, and supplements scattered across the rubber matting. "Are you blind or just useless?" "Devin, please," Sophie's voice cracked. She bent down to gather the spilled items, and that's when Marcus saw it clearly. A purple-yellow bruise on her upper arm, partially hidden by her sleeve. It was old, maybe a week, shaped like fingerprints. "Please what?" Devin mocked her tone, making it high-pitched and pathetic. His friends laughed. One zoomed in with the camera. "Are you going to cry? In front of everyone? That's so embarrassing, babe. You're embarrassing me." Sophie's shoulders shook. She was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face as she frantically tried to shove the items back into the bag. "I'm sorry. I'll buy you another one. I'll go right now." "With what money?" Devin sneered. "You don't have money. You don't have anything except what I give you." He kicked the gym bag, sending it skidding across the floor, its contents spilling out again. "You know what? Forget it. Just stand there and look pretty. Actually, you can't even do that right now with your face all red and puffy." The cruelty was casual, practiced. This wasn't the first time. Marcus recognized the pattern. The public humiliation, the deliberate erosion of dignity, the performance for the cameras that normalized the abuse. This was a man who enjoyed his power. Marcus's grip on the mop handle tightened. In his mind, threat assessments ran automatically. 5 hostiles, 1 primary aggressor, for enablers. Civilian environment, witnesses present, no immediate weapon visible, but high potential for escalation. The victim was in psychological shutdown, flight response suppressed by conditioning. He'd seen enough, but he waited. In 23 years as a SEAL, Marcus had learned patience. He needed Devin to cross the line from verbal to physical. He needed legal justification. He wouldn't have to wait long. Sophie remained on her knees, gathering the scattered items with shaking hands. She wouldn't look up, wouldn't make eye contact with anyone. The shame radiated off her in waves. This was learned behavior. Apologize, comply, make yourself invisible, survive until it's over. But Devin wasn't done. "You know what your problem is?" Devin crouched down next to her, his voice dropping to a tone that was somehow more menacing for its false intimacy. The cameras circled, capturing every angle. "Your problem is you don't appreciate what you have. You've got me, 3-0, sponsors calling, a fight lined up with Titan FC, and you act like I'm the bad guy for expecting you to do simple shit." "I do appreciate it," Sophie whispered. "I'm sorry." "You're sorry." Devin stood up abruptly. "That's all you ever say? Sorry, sorry, sorry. It's pathetic." He turned to his friends. "Right? Tell her. Tell her how pathetic she sounds." His crew, emboldened by their leader and the shield of the camera, joined in. "Pretty pathetic, Devin," one of them said, a guy with a neck tattoo and a man bun. "She should be grateful, bro," another added, adjusting the ring light to better illuminate the scene. The mockery continued, each member of the crew taking their turn, performing for the lens and for Devin's approval. Sophie had stopped gathering the items. She just knelt there, head bowed, absorbing the abuse like someone standing in a storm with no shelter. Marcus moved his mop closer. He was now only 15 feet away, working on a section of floor that was already clean. His gray uniform, his age, his quiet demeanor, all of it rendered him invisible to the young men drunk on their own cruelty. They didn't see the threat. That was their first mistake. "Get up," Devin suddenly commanded. "Stop kneeling there like a victim. You're making a scene." Sophie stood slowly, unsteady on her feet. Her face was blotchy and wet with tears. "Can we please just go home?" she asked, her voice small and pleading. "Home?" Devin laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. "Nah, we're not done here. I got 2 more sets. You're going to sit over there and watch, and maybe you'll learn something about what hard work looks like. Maybe that's your problem. You've never had to work for anything." The irony was lost on him. Sophie, Marcus had observed over the past 3 weeks of working this shift, was the one who drove Devin to the gym, waited for hours while he trained, bought his supplements, managed his social media comments, and apparently served as his emotional punching bag. Sophie wiped her face with her sleeve and moved toward the bench where she'd been sitting. But as she passed Devon, he grabbed her wrist, not gently, but with a sudden violent grip that made her gasp. "And fix your face before we leave," Devon said through clenched teeth, his mask slipping to show the rage underneath. "I'm not being seen in public with you looking like that. People will think I did something to you." "You did do something to her," Marcus said. The words cut through the gym's ambient noise like a blade. The music kept playing, but every conversation stopped. The weight of those 6 words hung in the air, undeniable and heavy. Devon's head snapped toward the source. His eyes found Marcus, the janitor, the nobody, the invisible man, standing 20 feet away, mop in hand, looking directly at him with an expression that was utterly calm and utterly dangerous. For a moment, Devon's brain struggled to process what had just happened. The social hierarchy was being violated. Service workers didn't speak to him. They certainly didn't challenge him. "What did you just say?" Devon released Sophie's wrist and turned his full attention to Marcus. His crew immediately flanked him, cameras turning to capture this new development. This was content gold: conflict, confrontation, drama. Marcus set the mop handle against the wall with deliberate care. When he looked back at Devon, his eyes were the color of gunmetal, and they carried the weight of 2 decades of warfare that this gym rat couldn't begin to comprehend. "I said you did something to her," Marcus repeated, his voice level and quiet. "You hurt her. You've been hurting her. And you're doing it on camera, which makes you either stupid or convinced you're untouchable." Devon's face flushed crimson. The accusation, delivered so plainly and publicly, was an attack on his carefully crafted image. He was the hero of his own story, the rising champion, the alpha. He wasn't the villain. "Old man, you need to mind your business and get back to mopping," Devon said, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. He took 3 steps toward Marcus, closing the distance, using his physicality to intimidate. "You work here. You work for me. Technically, since I pay membership fees. So shut your mouth and do your job." Marcus didn't move, didn't step back, didn't break eye contact. Men like Devon were used to people folding under pressure, verbal or physical. They built their entire identity on the assumption that aggression equals dominance. "I don't work for you," Marcus said simply. "And your membership doesn't buy you the right to abuse people." "Abuse?" Devon's laugh was incredulous. He turned to his crew, to the cameras, playing to his audience. "Did this guy just accuse me of abuse? Bro, that's my girlfriend. We're just talking. This is between me and her. You're way out of line." One of Devon's friends stepped forward, the one with the neck tattoo. "Yo, you want us to handle this?" he asked Devon, puffing up his chest. Devon held up a hand, a theatrical gesture of restraint. Nah, let's give the old-timer a chance to apologize and walk away. He's probably confused. Maybe he's got dementia or something." He looked back at Marcus with a cruel smile. "It's okay, Gramps. Just go back to your mop. Pretend you didn't see anything." Behind Devon, Sophie had wrapped her arms around herself. She looked at Marcus with an expression that was equal parts hope and terror. She wanted someone to help, but she knew what happened when Devon got angry. She knew what would happen when they got home. Marcus saw that look. He'd made his decision the moment Devon grabbed Sophie's wrist, but that look sealed it. "I'm not walking away," Marcus said. The temperature in the gym seemed to drop. The few remaining athletes had stopped their workouts entirely, sensing something significant was about to happen. The gym owner, a heavy-set man named Tony, emerged from his office, drawn by the unusual silence. Devon's smile vanished. "Then you're going to have a problem." "No," Marcus said, his voice still quiet, but now carrying an edge that anyone with combat experience would recognize immediately. "You're going to have a problem." Devon snapped. The fragile ego, the public challenge, the cameras catching every moment of his authority being questioned, it was too much. He exploded forward, closing the distance between himself and Marcus with frightening speed. "You want to go, old man?" Devon shouted, shoving Marcus hard in the chest with both hands. "I'll put you in the fucking hospital." Marcus absorbed the shove, taking 1 step back to maintain balance. He didn't retaliate. Not yet. He needed Devon to commit. "Devon, stop." Sophie's voice cracked through the tension, desperate. She moved toward them, but one of Devon's crew held her back, laughing. "Let him handle it. The guy with the man buns said. Your boy's about to get famous for a whole different reason. Devin shoved Marcus again, harder this time. Come on, do something. Or are you just going to stand there like a... Marcus caught Devin's wrist mid-shove. The movement was so fast, so technically precise, that Devin didn't even register it until he couldn't pull his hands back. Marcus's grip was iron, his fingers finding pressure points that sent jolts of pain up Devin's arms. Devin tried to yank free. Couldn't. Tried to pull Marcus off balance. Couldn't. His eyes widened with the first flicker of genuine confusion. This wasn't how physics worked. He was bigger, younger, stronger, but he couldn't move. Here's what's going to happen, Marcus said, his voice still calm, almost conversational. You're going to calm down. You're going to apologize to Sophie. And you're going to leave this gym without touching her again. Do you understand? Devin's face contorted with rage and humiliation. In front of his crew, in front of the cameras, he was being controlled by a janitor. His entire identity was built on physical dominance, and it was being dismantled in real time. Let go of me, Devin hissed. Marcus released him. That was Devin's second mistake, interpreting mercy as weakness. The moment his hands were free, Devin threw a right hook at Marcus's head. It was a good punch by amateur standards. Fast, powerful, aimed at the temple. It would have knocked out most people. Marcus wasn't most people. He slipped the punch with minimal movement, his head shifting 6 inches to the left. Devin's fist sailed through empty air, and the momentum spun him slightly off balance. Before Devin could reset, Marcus was inside his guard. What happened next took less than 3 seconds, but to everyone watching, it unfolded with the surreal clarity of violence captured in slow motion. Marcus's left hand snapped up, palm strike to Devin's solar plexus. The impact was surgical, precise, driving the air from Devin's lungs and freezing his diaphragm. Devin's eyes went wide, mouth opening in a silent gasp. Before Devin could double over, Marcus's right hand came up under his jaw. Not a punch, but a controlled upward push that snapped Devin's head back and disrupted his equilibrium. Devin's knees buckled. Marcus pivoted, his legs sweeping Devin's forward leg while his hands controlled Devin's upper body. The takedown was textbook SEAL combat training. Effortless, unavoidable, devastating. Devin went down hard onto the rubber matting, landing flat on his back with Marcus's knee on his chest and a forearm across his throat. Not choking him, just controlling him. Completely. The gym was silent except for Devin's wheezing attempts to breathe. His face was red, eyes watering, hands pushing uselessly at Marcus's arm. His crew stood frozen, cameras still rolling but capturing something they didn't understand. They were watching a predator teach a bully the difference between performance and lethality. Marcus leaned down, his voice low enough that only Devin could hear. You don't know how to fight. You know how to beat people who can't defend themselves. There's a difference. Right now, I could crush your windpipe or dislocate your shoulder in about 2 seconds. I'm not going to do that because, unlike you, I don't hurt people weaker than me. Devin's eyes were wide with terror. This wasn't supposed to happen. He was the fighter. He was supposed to be dangerous. Are you going to calm down? Marcus asked. Devin managed a frantic nod. Marcus released the pressure and stood up smoothly, offering his hand to help Devin up. Devin slapped it away, scrambling to his feet on his own, backing up immediately. He was breathing hard, one hand to his throat, his carefully constructed tough guy image shattered. You're done, Devin wheezed, pointing at Marcus with a shaking finger. You're so fucking done. I'm calling the cops. That's assault. You assaulted me. All of you saw it. He looked at his crew, at the cameras. We saw you attack him, said Tony, the gym owner, who'd watched the whole thing. I saw you shove him twice and throw a punch. He defended himself. Bullshit. Devin's voice was cracking, the tough guy persona completely gone, replaced by a wounded ego and genuine fear. He put his hands on me first. He grabbed my wrists. After you assaulted him, Tony said flatly. Get out of my gym, Devin. You and your crew. You're banned. Permanently. You can't ban me. You're nobody, Marcus said, cutting through Devin's protest. He stepped forward, and Devin immediately stepped back, flinching. You're a bully with a microphone. And now everyone's going to see exactly who you are. Devin looked at his crew, at the cameras that had captured every moment of his humiliation. The same devices he'd used to broadcast his dominance had just documented his complete defeat. The calculation was instant. This footage would destroy him. His sponsors, his reputation, his carefully curated image of invincibility, all gone. Delete that, Devin said to his crew. Delete all of it. His friends looked at each other, uncertain. They'd come here to film a workout, to create content. Instead, they documented something else entirely. Don't delete anything, Tony said. That footage is evidence. If anyone's calling the cops, it's me. Devin's face cycled through emotions: rage, humiliation, fear, desperation. He looked at Sophie, who was still standing frozen, her arms wrapped around herself. For a moment, something flickered in his expression. Not remorse. Calculation. Babe, Devin said, his voice suddenly softer, manipulative. Let's just go? Let's go home and forget this happened. This guy's crazy. He attacked me for no reason. You saw it, right? Tell them. It was the moment of truth. Every domestic abuse case hinged on this. Would the victim corroborate the abuser's story to make the violence stop? Would survival instinct override everything else? Sophie looked at Devin, then at Marcus, then at the cameras. Her face was still streaked with tears, her wrist red from where Devin had grabbed her. When she finally spoke, her voice was shaky but clear. No. The single word hit Devin like a physical blow. What? He said. No. Sophie repeated, louder this time. You hurt me. You've been hurting me. For months. And I'm tired of pretending you haven't. The confession broke something open. Sophie's shoulders, which had been hunched in perpetual defensive posture, slowly straightened. Tears still ran down her face, but her voice grew steadier with each word. You told me if I ever embarrassed you in public, if I ever made you look bad, you'd make me regret it, Sophie continued, her eyes locked on Devin. You told me if I ever left, you'd ruin my life. You'd post private photos, you'd tell everyone I was crazy, you'd make sure no one believed me. Devin's face paled. Babe, you're confused. You're upset. This guy got in your head. I have bruises, Sophie said, pulling up her sleeve to reveal the marks on her upper arm. I have photos on my phone of worse ones. You gave me a black eye 3 weeks ago and told me to say I walked into a cabinet. You broke my phone last month when I tried to call my sister. The gym was dead silent. Devin's crew had lowered their cameras, the entertainment value of the situation evaporating as the reality set in. This wasn't content. This was a crime being exposed. Tony had his phone out, already dialing. I'm calling the police, he said firmly. Wait. Devin held up his hands, his voice taking on a pleading tone. Okay, look, things got heated sometimes. Relationships are complicated. But I didn't mean, he was spiraling, his story falling apart in real time. You meant it, Marcus said quietly. He hadn't moved from his position between Devin and Sophie, a human barrier. Every time you hurt her, you meant it. Every time you humiliated her, you meant it. And you kept doing it because you thought you'd never face consequences. Devin's expression hardened again, the fear giving way to bitter anger. You don't know shit about me, old man. This is none of your business. Sophie, if you go through with this, if you talk to the cops, I swear to God. You'll what? Marcus's voice dropped to a tone that made everyone in the gym take an involuntary step back. Threaten her more? Hurt her more? That stops right now. Or what? You going to beat me up again? Go ahead. More assault charges for you. Marcus smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I don't need to touch you again, Devin. Your career is over. That footage. He gestured to the phones Devin's crew was still holding. That's going viral whether you want it to or not. Everyone's going to see you for what you are. No sponsor wants to be associated with a domestic abuser. No promotion wants that liability. You're done. Bullshit. People love me. I've got 500,000 followers. You had 500,000 followers, one of Devin's crew members said quietly, looking at his phone. Someone already posted a clip. It's been up for 3 minutes. The comments. He trailed off, showing his phone screen to Devin. Devin snatched the phone and stared at it, his face going from red to white. Whatever he was reading was demolishing his reality in real time. No, Devin muttered, his fingers frantically tapping at the screen. I can fix this. I can post an explanation. I can. You can't fix this, Marcus said. And you shouldn't be able to. You hurt someone who trusted you. You abused someone who depended on you. And you did it because you thought being strong meant making others weak. Devin looked up from the phone, and for the first time, his expression wasn't angry or manipulative. It was something closer to shock, the reality of consequences finally penetrating his narcissism. My sponsors are dropping me, he whispered. They're already. How is this happening so fast? Because people are tired of men like you, Tony said, still on the phone with the police. And because for once, someone stood up to you. The sound of sirens approached in the distance. Sophie was sitting on the bench now, her hands shaking but her posture different, no longer trying to disappear. Marcus walked over and crouched down to her eye level. You okay? He asked gently. Sophie nodded, then shook her head, then nodded again. I don't know. I'm scared. That's normal. But you're going to be okay. You're going to talk to the police, you're going to tell them everything, and you're going to start getting your life back. Do you have somewhere safe to stay tonight? My sister. In Tempe. I haven't talked to her in months because Devin. She trailed off. Call her, Marcus said. Right now? Call her and tell her you're coming home. Sophie pulled out her phone with trembling hands and dialed. While she talked in hushed, emotional tones, Marcus stood and walked back to where Devin was standing with his crew. Devin looked smaller now, diminished, the physical and psychological reality of his situation crushing the inflated ego that had sustained him. You ruined my life, Devin said to Marcus, his voice hollow. No, Marcus replied. You ruined your own life. I just made sure you couldn't ruin hers anymore. 2 patrol cars pulled up outside, their red and blue lights flashing through the gym's windows. 4 officers entered, and Tony immediately walked over to brief them. Within minutes, the situation was being documented, statements taken, footage reviewed, evidence collected. Devin was placed in handcuffs. He didn't resist, but he kept looking at Sophie, his expression cycling between anger and something that might have been regret, but was probably just self-pity. One of the officers led him out to a patrol car, while another stayed to take Sophie's statement. Marcus watched it all with the quiet satisfaction of a mission completed. He'd seen enough injustice in his military career to last several lifetimes. Most of it he couldn't stop. Geopolitics, tribal conflicts, poverty, and war were beyond his control. But this small moment of intervention, this he could do. One of the officers, a veteran himself based on the subtle tells Marcus recognized, approached him. That was some pretty impressive restraint, the officer said. The gym owner said you had him pinned, but didn't hurt him. Didn't need to hurt him, Marcus said. Just needed to stop him. The officer studied Marcus for a moment. Military. Long time ago. SEAL. Marcus's slight smile was confirmation enough. The officer nodded with understanding and respect. Well, SEAL or not, you did the right thing. That girl probably wouldn't have left him without tonight. She did the hard part, Marcus said, glancing over at Sophie, who was talking to a female officer while clutching her phone. I just gave her a chance. The officer took Marcus's statement, which was brief and factual. Yes, Devin had shoved him twice. Yes, Devin had thrown a punch. Yes, Marcus had defended himself with minimal necessary force. Yes, he would testify if needed. An hour later, the gym had cleared out. The police had left with Devin in custody. Sophie had left with her sister, who'd arrived in record time and had hugged her for 5 full minutes in the parking lot. Tony had locked up early, giving Marcus a firm handshake and an envelope with a week's pay as a bonus. You know I probably can't keep you on after this, Tony said apologetically. Corporate's going to have a fit about the liability. Former SEAL taking down a client, even if justified, they'll panic. I understand, Marcus said. He'd expected it. He'd accepted it before he'd ever said a word to Devin. But, Tony continued, I know some people. Gym owners, security firms. People who'd appreciate someone with your skill set and moral compass. I'll make some calls. Marcus nodded his thanks. Now, alone in the empty gym at midnight, Marcus picked up his mop and continued cleaning. The floor didn't need it anymore, but the routine was comforting. He thought about Sophie, hoping she'd follow through, hoping she'd get counseling, hoping she'd rebuild her life with the support of people who actually cared about her. He thought about Devin, sitting in a cell, his entire identity dismantled in one evening. Part of Marcus, the part that had seen real evil in the world, had no sympathy. But another part, the part that had trained young SEALs and seen potential wasted by ego and arrogance, wondered if Devin would learn anything from this. Probably not. Men like that rarely did. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Sophie. Tony gave me your number. I just wanted to say thank you. I don't know if I would have survived another year with him. You saved my life tonight. Thank you. Marcus stared at the message for a long moment, then typed a simple response. You saved yourself. I just made sure you had the chance. Be safe. He pocketed the phone and finished mopping. Outside, the Phoenix night had cooled to something almost pleasant. Marcus loaded his cleaning supplies into his beat-up truck, climbed into the driver's seat, and sat for a moment in the parking lot. 23 years as a SEAL had taught him to break things and kill people in defense of his country. But retirement had taught him something else. Sometimes the most important battles weren't fought in deserts or mountains. Sometimes they were fought in parking lots and gyms and kitchens. Sometimes the enemy wore a charming smile and posted motivational quotes on social media. And sometimes a retired warrior with a mop was exactly the right weapon at the right time. Marcus started the truck and drove home, knowing that tomorrow would bring a new job search, new challenges, new routines. But tonight, Sophie was safe. Tonight, a bully had faced consequences. Tonight, the good guys won. It wasn't much in the grand scheme of things, but it was enough.